I would say don't live in fear so much of gluten that it causes you so much stress and anxiety that it's ruining your life. Welcome to the Healthy Celiac Show. I'm your host, Belinda Whelan from belindawhelan.com, and here you will learn to live your very best life with celiac disease. So we are going to be talking all about health-related topics because you, my friend, are more than just a woman with celiac disease. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss an episode, and welcome to the show. All right, welcome back to this week's episode. Now, I wanted to talk to you today about fear of gluten because I see time and time again that living in fear of gluten is holding so many people back from living a really full and happy life. Now, if you know anything about fear, we can undo fear, okay? We can unlearn some of the fears that we've learned over time. So every single person in the whole world is born with two fears, and the rest is all learned. So those fears that we basically are born having fear of are falling backwards and sounds that are loud. So loud noises, basically. So everyone has those fears, okay? You might have seen or you might have been to an event where you have to trust someone else to catch you. And there's a real fear that that person is going to drop you. Have you ever seen that where the person stands there? They do this a lot in classrooms as well to build trust. And they get the person to stand there and someone stands behind and that person has to fall and the other person catches them. But there is an absolute fear that that person is going to drop you when you do that. If you've done that, you totally get what I'm talking about, right? And then there's the fear of falling. Okay, so it's very normal to fear falling because we all fear it. We don't want to fall off of a ledge. We don't want to fall down the stairs, these types of things. But everything else is learned. We learn it in our lifetime. We learn it from seeing other people do things. We learn it from what we see happen in the world around us, okay? So for me, growing up, I had a fear of needles, which is completely ridiculous because I personally never had an experience with needles that made me scared of them. But it was because I grew up watching my mum have a fear of needles. And she was so petrified of needles that it made me think that there was something wrong with needles and I was scared of it. And I even remember going and getting my blood test for celiac disease and being completely full of fear because I had to have blood taken. And when it happened, it was perfectly okay. I barely felt a thing and I kind of thought to myself, what is going on here? And I don't know whether it was because I'd come out the other side of childbirth, and once you've been through childbirth, getting prodded and all the things that happen during childbirth, basically a needle was nothing after that. So my fear of needles is now gone. I couldn't care less if I have to get, anything jabbed in my arm or whatever. I don't have a fear around it anymore. It was even to the point where when I would go and have anything done prior to that, anything, just say a needle or if I had to have a drip in or whatever, I would have to lay down so I didn't pass out because I'd passed out a couple of times from it because it was just this stupid fear that I'd created in my mind. So I've unlearnt that. Another instance was I was in Singapore and I had been to a motivational event over there. I was over there on a business trip and I had been to this event and we were talking about fear. And I remember learning that the acronym for fear is false emotions appearing real. Okay. So false emotions appearing real. So something that you feel is real, but it's false. It's pretend. You've just made it up in your mind. And so we'd gone to this event and I was with my husband and with some friends and we were walking along this path to go somewhere. I can't remember where, but there was someone there with this ginormous snake And I also had a fear of snakes, and I'd been talking about that. And it was like the universe just delivered this snake to test me. And I got egged on and basically forced to hold this massive snake. And I did it. And it was actually pretty cool. So I remember holding this snake. I'll see if I can pull out the photos. And I was holding this snake and I was packing my dax. I was so scared, and I had such a firm grip around this snake. I was just petrified. I remember my heart pounding, and I was holding onto this snake for dear life. And the man just said to me, you need to loosen your grip a little bit, loosen your grip. It's okay. You don't need to hold so tight. It's not going anywhere. And I loosened my grip, and then I relaxed into it. And I had the hugest smile on my face, and I just felt on top of the world because I'd held this ginormous, beautiful white and yellow snake. And it was just, what was I scared of? What was I living in fear of snakes? Like, why was I so scared of them? And again, it was because I had lived my story of other people's fear of snakes. Okay. So how does this tie in with a fear of gluten? So up until this point, if you've been living in fear of gluten, it's because you've learnt to live in fear of gluten, right? You have learnt that gluten is the bad guy. Gluten makes you feel sick. Gluten makes you have all these side effects, and you know that you need to avoid it at all costs, right? Which is good. We want you to be feeling that way and having that knowledge, but I would say don't live in fear so much of gluten that it causes you so much stress and anxiety that it's ruining your life. Because so many people live in absolute fear of gluten that they stress about everything. They stress about going anywhere. And for me personally, I have not let living with celiac disease ever hold me back with anything. I see people say that they don't want to travel because it's too scary because of gluten. They don't want to eat out in restaurants because it's too scary because of a fear of gluten. They don't want to eat at friends' houses because of a fear of gluten. And it's a legitimate fear. It is completely normal to feel this way. However, you don't need to feel this way. You can still do these things in your life, but it's about having the knowledge, and it's about knowing how to be prepared that you're not going to come across gluten. And there's so many action steps that you can take so that you don't live in fear constantly of gluten, because it is honestly no way to live. I say yes, be very conscious and be very aware of gluten everywhere you go, but not fear it so much that it holds you back and you don't have these life experiences. Because there's so many opportunities out there to be able to eat gluten-free and to be able to be safe and to be able to travel and enjoy life. And it's about learning how to do those things. And that is 100% what I can help you do. And I truly, truly believe that once you learn those action steps, it takes away those fears. It takes away that feeling of living in fear and not living life to its fullest. And like I said, I've never let celiac disease hold me back. I recently shared some information on my Instagram about how my husband proposed to me pretty much straight after I found out I had celiac disease. And from there on, we planned our wedding, and our wedding was international. We got married in Indonesia, we got married in Bali, and all of that was organized via email and via Skype sessions. If Skype's still around, I don't even know. But we organized all of that, and not once did I have fear that there was going to be, any opportunity for things to go wrong or that I was going to get gluten. It was, this wedding is going to be 100% gluten-free, wedding cake, everything, right down to all the food. Every single thing there had to be gluten-free so that I could feel safe and that there'd be no fear of getting gluten. And it was the most incredible wedding, and I'm so glad that I didn't let my fear hold me back from having that experience. Because if I had and I'd thought, you know, this is too hard, this is too scary, you know, what if, we wouldn't have got married in such a beautiful location, and we wouldn't have had 50 of our closest friends and family fly over with us and enjoy this amazing day that, you know, forever will be a huge memory in both my husband and my lives, and, you know, our guests as well. So it is something that I truly believe that we don't need it to hold us back. We don't need to live in fear of gluten. And like I said, false emotions appearing real. And that is what it is. It's emotion. So if you, for example, you truly fear going out for dinner because there's such a high risk of getting gluten, it doesn't have to be that way, because it's just about learning which restaurants are safe for you, which servers are going to do right by you, asking the right questions, doing all of the things, taking all of those action steps so that your risk of getting gluten is very, very minimal. Okay. It does happen. I'm not going to lie. It does happen. Things go wrong. Accidents happen. But majority of the time they don't. The majority of the time, the experiences that we can have when we go out are positive experiences and making those beautiful memories. So if this is something that you need help with, please make sure that you click the link below and check out Ultimate Celiac System and learn more about how I can help you with that, because that is what I cover off in this course, that you can go and live just an amazing life living with celiac disease. You don't need to live in fear. You can truly, truly go out there and be the very best that you can. And that's all that I want for you. That is why I do what I do. It is my mission to help people with celiac disease to be able to live their best lives. So if you feel like you need help in that area, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I can help you with that. So please go check out Ultimate Celiac System, learn a little bit more about how I can support you in that program. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me at any time. Pop the questions below here in this video, that's not a problem, and I'll get back to you. Or if you prefer to send me an email, you can do that as well. So my email is on the screen here, which is info@belindawhelan.com, and I'll get back to you there. So I hope that helps, and yeah, any questions, send them my way. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. So thank you so much for listening and watching, and I look forward to sharing more with you again next week. If you enjoyed this episode, head to belindawhelan.com to get yourself a free copy of my exclusive ebook, 11 Mistakes People Make Going Gluten-Free Living with Celiac Disease.